Hello, everybody. It's me. I just thought I would, you know, reach out and just talk about a few things. Um, like things like why do we do what we do as imperfect human beings? Um, I've always thought about stuff like that too. In fact, us as human beings, none of us are perfect. We have our faults. We do. We have our things that we need to work on. You know, some people are different than others. Some people for the better, sadly, some people for the worse. And regardless, we all have to live with each other. In society, we have to deal with each other in one way or another. But why do we do what we do? As imperfect human beings? Because that's it. We're imperfect. You know, we are very imperfect human beings that sometimes, sadly, we can bring each other down. Some people are cruel and wicked, and some people are very loving and affectionate and caring. Which group would you prefer to be in? The loving, the caring, the affectionate, or the wicked and the cruel, and the ones that just don't give a darn and very selfish? Why do some turn out that way and some turn out the other? That's a good question. And I think a lot of it has to do with like how you're raised. And that's not always true either. Sometimes we make ourselves who we are. You can come from the most loving family and turn out to be a serial killer or to be um, the most cruelest person that you can think of. And sometimes the parents ask, "So how did he turn out like that? We didn't raise him that way." We always ask ourselves, what happened? Where did we go wrong? And sometimes maybe it's just genetics. I don't know. We try to figure that out every day. Then you could come from the most cruelest and the most wicked family and turn out to be the most loving person there is. We choose to be who we want to be. When we get to a certain age, we might have had the worst influences or some people the best influences. Now is like, where do you want it to take you when you get to be of age? Do you want to follow the better part of yourself or the most treacherous part of yourself? Because all of us we are all imperfect. That is for sure. There's no running from that. But we can work on ourselves, make ourselves better people. You know, some people may have anger issues. I know some people that used to explode so fast in a rage, but now they trained themselves because they recognized and they didn't like who they were. The things that they were doing to others, they saw that they were hurting others and they recognized it. And the thing is the recognizing. When you recognize that you have a problem or you have an issue or you just don't like the person you are, and some people have lost their families for it. Some people have landed up in divorced family situations because their spouse don't want to put up with that stuff no more, and they don't think it's a good influence on the children. And not just that, sometimes you can be hurting the most closest person to you, even your own children. And you start to notice something. You start to notice that your children are afraid of you, or your wife is terrified, or your husband can't even get close to you because he's scared about. Because believe me, women can be cruel and wicked too. They can be abusive to a man because some men are taught you don't ever hit a woman, you know, you don't ever touch a woman. So they're taught that. And there's a woman like beating the heck out of her husband with a high heel shoe all over his body. And there he is with welt marks all over his body. How is that okay? I you see situations like this, but it's never reported that women can be the abuser. It's not always just the man. Women can be the abuser too. And when we recognize those things, we have to find a way to help ourselves break from that cycle, and or just break from that anger and stop. It's not easy, especially when you've been doing it for so long and you're about to lose your whole family because you're not. You're going wacky doodle. Now it's time to, when you realize that you recognize it, now it's time to change it. And some people have trained themselves to have self-control finally in their life, making them into a better person, into a more loving person. So even the worst person can change if they really put their mind to it and they put that training into it. If you recognize those things within yourself, then it's time to change it. Time to realize that you are hurting those that are close to you, that love you, but they're scared of you. And when that happens, you need to put some change aside, work on yourself, learn self control, learn how to love, and learn how to find ways to keep your family so your family isn't scared of you. Sometimes this happens on a daily basis, but not many people talk about it, you know? But like I said, we're all imperfect human beings. We all have our faults, because we do. We all have our imperfections. And believe it or not, we all have to work at it. Some people are very angry people inside. Some people gossip too much, not realizing that they're hurting somebody's feelings. Or sometimes people are just too bloody rude, not realizing, hey, you need to gain some manners, you know? So, but everybody's different. Everybody has their imperfections. Like me, mine is trust. For the longest time, many people have let me down throughout my life, you know? And then when somebody that you want to trust, you know, tries to help you, you're scared. You're scared, or you're just, it's hard for you to trust the idea that you can rely on that person because you've been let down too many times. And you start to believe that no one wants to help you. No one wants to, you know, so you've been let down, like I said, so many times that you just said, oh, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to go walk all the way to work when somebody is willing to pick you up from their heart and give you a ride home or to work. But that person just doesn't want to be a burden or be like a, like yeah, like a burden on that person. So they just learn just to go, just to take your own feet there or take a bus. But when that person offers, um, sometimes there's doubt there that, you know, that they're gonna pick you up. So you just go. And then suddenly they call and they ask, where are you? What do they do? You tell them where you are and they pick you up. And realizing that you can trust this person, you can trust this person. But and it's not just the trust, it's that I'm too nice. And sometimes people take advantage of that. And that's a sad thing too. I need to be more tougher, but not lose my heart either. That's hard for me because it's not in my nature to be, you know. I'm just more of a loving, affectionate person. I want to understand you. I want you to understand me. So communication is key. Always. I always believe that. And it's gotten me through life, even through hard times. Communication is key. Always. So you can understand each other more effectively and comprehend and understand why that person felt that way, why this person did this, why did you do that. So there's a lot of things that we all have to work on as imperfect human beings. There's no such thing as perfect. Even the most perfect person isn't even perfect. Everybody has their faults. Everybody has their things that they have to work on to be a better person within themselves. And then they're able to take that love and that imperfection, but with love with you, and gain that trust of someone else that you are reliable, that um you can be trusted. You are worthy. It's just hard to trust people these days. It is. Even those that are closest to you, even your own children, sadly. Sometimes I don't think some of our children even know what they're doing. And we're like, wow. But I will always love mine, regardless, no matter how. I always think about them, but now I'm thriving by myself. I'm making it a struggle, but I'm making it. Things will get better here soon, and I know it will. Just got to keep my head up, just got to keep going, keep a positive mind that, things will get better. But like I said, it just takes a few steps at a time to work on yourself. Because, like I said, through this video, we are all imperfect human beings and we do have our faults. And forgiveness. Forgiveness is a very hard thing, but it's a good thing because it helps relieve our anger, um, helps us relieve um, the why question. Why did you do this? Why did this happen this way? We all have answers of why, and we want to know why. But in a civil, a communicative, and a loving way. So there's no rivalry or anger outbursts between the two people, but they're able to communicate um, what went wrong and how they can maybe fix it. Um, I just thought about a time when some people have done me wrong very badly, but the only issue is that person willing to forgive? Are you willing to forgive that person? Or is that person willing to understand that maybe they did wrong or accept the idea that they did wrong if you communicate it to them that they hurt you? Why did you do that? You know, like I said, sometimes communication in a civil way is key, always. But if you ever ask that question to yourself, why do we do what we do? Why do we do what we do? Because we're all imperfect human beings. That's the answer to the key, is that we all are imperfect human beings and we have our faults, but we can fix them. and make ourselves better human beings in the end. But if you guys, you know, ever had a ever asked yourself that question, you know, what things can you fix within yourself? You know, have you ever done anybody wrong where, you know, you asked for their forgiveness, or you asked for them to forgive what you did, or the same with you, if they did something wrong to you, have you experienced, the idea of forgiveness, the idea that you're willing to um, say that you did wrong, and is that person willing to forgive you? Because we all at one time in our life has done something wrong, and maybe it might have hurt somebody, and maybe they never said anything, or maybe they did say something but you just shrugged it off like, oh well, you know instead of apologizing or saying I forgive you, um or admitting that you did do wrong, and is that person willing to forgive you? Did they forgive you? So if you guys ever experienced anything like that, I mean, it would be nice to hear from you guys, and maybe you could leave a comment about it, and maybe we could share together experiences going through that. You know, why do we do what we do? That's a good question. We're all imperfect human beings. That's it. All we can do is try to better ourselves as human beings, and just accept forgiveness, or make changes with it within ourselves to better ourselves as human beings, and then bring that change forward, hoping that other person would forgive you. Or if it happened to you, is that other person willing to um, accept the idea they did wrong, you know? So it varies depending on a situation, but I just thought this was an interesting topic because um, this is a thing that sometimes comes up. Why are people, the way they are? And the simple answer is we're all imperfect, but we can work on ourselves. We can better ourselves as human beings, but that's our choice. If you want to be a better person, you would do that. But if you don't give a darn and said heck with it, well, you haven't went to that point of recognizing that maybe you do need change. But if you feel like you don't, you're just that kind of person that just doesn't want to change. That's it. Thank you for watching my video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Um, but yeah, just leave me a comment or anything like that, and we can share like experiences or anything together. It would be nice to hear from you because we can learn from each other. That would be nice. Thank you. Adios. 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 Have a good night. Because here it's 2:12 in the morning. It's the next day already. Bye. Until the next video. Bye.